And I tell you what, over the last few episodes, I have been prepping for a chocolate factory. And we've had multiple projects that we've had to do to just get to this point where we can actually start setting up parts of this chocolate factory. That involved having a farm. You know, remember this one right here, where we have all of these products set up and ready to go. We also needed lava technically for this project because we're gonna have to heat the cocoa and the milk. Yeah, also we ended up setting up a milk farm that allows us to generate the milk needed for this chocolate factory. And then, not to mention, we also needed an entire warehouse facility. That way we can take items from there, store them for use in other projects down the road, and be able to transfer our milk and our lava all the way around and up and through this mountainside. So that way we can have it all delivered right over here. And that chocolate factory area is going to be right here. Of course, as you can see, there's not really a factory here yet. That's because we have to make it. Now, I like to build in a very particular way, and I like to essentially build out the infrastructure, the working components first, and then build a facade around it. And I think that's how a lot of things kind of work in real life as well. You have an idea for a factory, you build up the logistics for it pre-planned, and then the actual building gets technically built to facilitate all of that. And oh my gosh, that was adorable. The doggo just came right up here. Oh, and you only have one heart. You're mine now. Okay, chat, you've got to figure out, you guys who's watching, you've got to, what's this thing's name? And it's also one of the newly textured doggos. Oh, I love this. Okay, plus, I'm getting distracted here, but I can't leave you without a friend. So yeah, how about 2 names? Yeah, we need to come up with 2 names. These are going to be the dogs that literally live in the chocolate factory. So long as I can keep them alive during the building process. All right, it's up to you guys in the comments to come up with a name for these 2 beautiful doggos. Okay, and just to make sure we know who's who, let's go ahead and do that. So we have a blue collar and we have a red collar. Nice. Oh, and I'm super getting distracted here because I can now make some wolf armor, and wolf armor should be also dyeable, I believe. Oh, it 100% is. Oh, this is great. This is very, very good. Oh, we could actually dye them like brown colors as well to match the chocolate factory, I think. Look at this. We have red versus blue. Oh my goodness. Man, we are diving deep on this one, all the way back into Halo territory there. Okay, so now without further ado, let's actually dive into how I want to plan this out. So what I'm thinking is over here will be our logistics area where we take in our products. So this is where we're going to be pulling items in from our train system. So that means that we are going to need a similar setup to where we have some vaults that actually store some of the products. And we're also going to need containers because we need to accept lava, and we're going to need milk being stored here because we're going to have to use that in the production of our chocolate factory. So this area over here needs to be our warehouse, but how do I line this up? Let's see, right about here is where the track starts to curve again. So I'm just going to call this portion right here our storage facility, and then we need to branch out this direction and get it to length. But of course that's going to be figured out once we actually get our vaults placed in. But what I do want is to carry this all the way over here, which lines up perfectly right here. And I'm thinking, is this where we go ahead and we start to curve our facility? I do want to leave a little bit of a gap between everything. So how about right here? And then what we can do is we can actually start curving this, which seems very weird to do, but the whole front face is going to be this curve, and we're going to have a curved face here, which is going to be kind of open because the main factory will actually be in the back here. And I do want to make this clear, this is not a Willy Wonka inspired factory. No. This is a factory that is inspired from the trip I recently took when I went to go visit City Walk and when we went to Universal Studios. So there was actually a chocolate factory, like a cafe thing that was there that looked absolutely gorgeous. Here's an image of it again, just to refresh your memory. And this is what I want to build, or something very similar to it. Very steampunk inspired, not an exact replica, of course. No. But I do want it to be inspired by. So you know what, how about we go about 3 blocks left here, and then we go out, leaving a little bit of gap in the front. and we start slowly but surely figuring out this curve. Now, just with this, I feel like I'm getting pretty close, and I just started placing blocks around this while also looking at the edge. And yeah, I've just got to do a little bit of cleanup. It's not going to be anything that's super symmetrical and perfect. I don't really want that. But you know what? The more I was thinking about it, the more I was like, well, why don't I just use the power of Create to possibly make this curve? Because train tracks are pretty good at actually building curves around things. So I could try and get a similar curve to what we have out front by having this taken out front, just like this. We just kind of have to define this area kind of like so. Maybe right here would be good. Yeah, this seems like a good position. And then I can build a temporary train that has a single deployer on it that can just place the blocks along the edge. I'll tell you what, you gotta love using trains and not actually using them for their main intended purpose and using them instead as a tool to do wonky things like this. Wonky, you say? That's a ring to it. So I'll just throw some cobblestone inside of a deployer, then fill it up, glue the actual train and all of its components together, just like that. Train controls are in a very wonky position, but I think we'll be fine, right? Let's go ahead and turn this on, and it automatically places it. Then we can just simply hop on here, grab our train controls, and just drive it this direction. This is hilarious. And look, it's building out the pathway perfect. And then right there's the straightaway. I mean, yeah, I don't think building out something like this gets any easier. Of course, these pesky villagers had to pop into here and give me some trouble, especially in my time of feel goodness. This must be from the competitor chocolate group's area. They're always out to sabotage me. Now, I know a few of you guys have been also concerned about my outfit and potentially, yeah, what I'm wearing, still covered in mud. But you know what? I was thinking, yeah, this isn't mud, and nor was it ever mud. No, this is chocolate that's all over me. Of course, yeah. We're making a chocolate factory, so yeah, this is I just got my hands dirty with a little bit of chocolate, no biggie. I mean, yeah, and I have my apron on, my overalls or coveralls, coveralls, yeah, like my overalls to literally cover all of the chocolate that's all over me. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what this is. So just in case you were concerned about the food safety, I mean, everything is perfectly fine. I mean, I have my PPE on and everything. No big whatsoever. Now on these outer walls, I want to have a block space, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seems fair, another block space, and then this will be the interior section. So if we build out an interior section, this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm thinking right about here would be good. That way we have a consistent walking section on the interior. So what I should be able to do is essentially mirror the same pattern that's going on here and hopefully be able to carry that all the way around. But that's definitely not going to happen, is it? Oh man, maybe I should have left the train tracks in. So yeah, here we go again. And this one is branched out all the way over here, which is the block length that I wanted. Gotta say though, this has to be probably, this has got to be one of the most clever ways I've done like circles before. Like this will keep it all nice and consistent and like rotation all the way through. So beautiful. Now I just got to go back in. I also added another line out here because this central area might have like some sort of stand set up. And then we'll have this be the main wall that is going to cover everything. There's still going to be a lot of plans for the interior section, so I haven't even gotten to thinking about that. But what I really got to do is lay out the floor and then actually get some of the factory infrastructure in. Now on the side walls here, I want to go in one and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then build a wall out. And I think what I could do is I can just go ahead and connect these up. And this will be the main flat open area that we're going to have to be able to do our projects in. Or at least it's going to give me an idea of how much actual space we're going to have, because we might actually divide the back up just to make it look more interesting. So you know what? I've decided to go out about 17 blocks from this space right here. So 17 interior space worth of blocks. And then I'm going to bridge this into the center. And then I think from there, kind of figure out like the center point, because this is what I'm going to be working with, right? This whole area, finding the center point of this building because it's non-symmetrical and then making the back section symmetrical, because I think it's going to look a lot better building the actual factory bits if we do have like a cohesive center point. And I think this right here might make that possible. And so if I do this, then I can get a nice little area bridged out like so. So this is like 1, 2, 3, and then yeah, we can start to round out this like so, right in the back. And I can do the same thing on the other side. And you know what? This is probably going to be plenty of space to be able to handle all of this stuff. And I do want to use frog ports and stuff in here and chain conveyors. I think that is going to be a really nice solution to this problem. And so long as we're chunk loading it, I don't think we're going to have any problems with the whole package system, even though I know I've had them in the past with like server restarts and stuff like that. I think that was, like I said, primarily due to it not being chunk loaded. But ever since Spawn has been chunk loaded, we haven't had any issues with them all. Now, you know what's funny? I was actually looking at this and I was like, you know what? Yeah, this building's not symmetrical, but it actually is symmetrical, and the train tracks actually made it symmetrical. That was unintentional, really. Now, the funny thing is it won't look symmetrical when we actually start placing the things on the outside and stuff, but yeah, that is kind of funny that it did that. But now I think it's time for me to strap in and get ready to actually start building the automation for things. So I need to just imagine that I have some tanks, or should I imagine? Actually, we might be able to buy our tanks and all of our like fluid logistics supplies from a new shop that just popped up. Yeah, Beardy Power Co. apparently is supplying this stuff. I think I should head over here and see what he's got cooking. Let's take a peek, shall we? All right, so we do have ourselves some power tokens, and this is to convert power tokens over. Oh, and notice, by the way, it's we can convert 64 to 48 or 1 to 1, but we have to do it individually. If we do it this way, we have to click and click. That menace, that absolute menace did that. Anyways, this is really what I'm after. So we get 32. Ooh, we get 16 tanks. I want a lot of tanks. I don't even know if this is going to be enough. 256 tanks. It's probably not going to be enough, but I'm going to keep buying these things because I really, really want tanks mainly. Now, it looks like you can also buy some water wheels, several other different things, but I mean, the main thing, ooh, even whistles, that would be nice. Some steam engines. Oh, very, very good. Oh, and we also have some other things over here, like, oh, blaze burners. I actually just crafted some more blaze burners. Didn't know that they were being sold. Very, very handy. Steam whistles would be a really fun project. I would love to set up like actual instrumentation. Oh, that would be really cool with like a panel to be able to play. Just figuring out a good way to actually click buttons and stuff to make it actually playable. But man, we got Vinny in here. I'm just gonna go ahead. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and request a few more things. Like we'll take a couple of pumps here too. I'm gonna need those. Fluid filtering, probably don't need any of that, I don't think. Ooh, valves. Oh, yeah, let me have some valves, definitely. You know what? I'm really going to go broke in this shop. Wait, or am I? I do have some diamonds, I think, laying about in the mall. I almost forgot about the mall. I mean, I wonder how my mall has been doing, as I haven't really checked on it in a while, or at least the profits I haven't checked on in a while, because I do pop in here and grab supplies all the time. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of diamonds in there. 762 so far. And yeah, that means that we have nearly profited almost 1,000 diamonds in total. I wish we had a way to count these. Now, after all of that purchasing fun, it's time to get back to work. So I'm thinking we are going to basically have these as our main products. We're going to be able to make honey appled here, sweet rolls, also some glazed chocolate berries and chocolate bars itself. We'll also have the actual chocolate in its like bucket form, but we're also going to have scoria and the scorchia. So I'm going to need those to be in a certain place. So I'm thinking like scoria we can have over here and scorchia we can have over here. And we need to figure out the size of the vault. I'm thinking we go with 1, 2, 3, 4. That seems pretty good. That gives us a little bit of space, and it's also going to hold like quite a bit of these products. And I guess since we're already going with a symmetrical station here, might as well do the same thing on the other side. And this should complete all of the products that I think this factory is going to produce. By the way, with me placing in the final product destination, it still goes with the idea that you build backwards with create. So you need to start from the position of your final product and work your way backwards. I find that to be one of the best ways to get all of this set up. Now, something cool that I want to take place here is I want the actual chocolate producing area to be kind of visible. Like I want it to be seen that this is producing chocolate. I'm thinking right in the center, we can have a giant tank that is going to hold all of the chocolate. And this thing is going to be pretty tall as well. And we of course need the things that are actually making the chocolate. And that means blaze burners are going to need to be on the side like this. And then on top of the blaze burners, we're going to place some basins. And then we need mixers to go on top of these, right? All of this is getting mixed in and getting connected in this way. Now, as far as pipes go, we have to keep in mind that this is going to be filling. So I'm thinking from the front, what we could do is we could just have a pipe that runs up here. This will have to be a pump that pulls into the fluid. And in the top, we're going to have to send in the milk because the back, we actually need to send in products, but also our blaze burners, they're going to also need to receive a product as well. So the pipes on the top, these are going to be sending in the milk. And let's see, in the back, I've got to figure out the logistics. Now, these are probably going to receive like lava buckets, and then we'll just have a mechanical arm, just simply feed these guys to keep them nice and filled up, and that'll be constant. But yes, figuring out the item logistics might require another arm. See, for the production of this, we need sugar and cocoa beans. So sugar, we are going to have to process our sugar canes. That should be pretty straightforward, but cocoa and sugar have to go in here. The milk is easy, but getting both of these products into one container, well, that's where things become a little bit harder to manage. And I think this is where the power of a list filter is going to come into play. So we need cocoa that needs to go in here and sugar. So we can set this up just like this, make sure it's an allow filter, and then we could actually use our arms on the back of here to fill the items from the back on both sides. And we just need ourselves some brass funnels to do this. It's in one of these containers, right? These right here. Perfect. So yeah, we'll have this fill in from the back and we'll just round robin on this side, and the same thing will be repeated over here. But if we set a filter, then the mechanical arms that are picking up all of the stuff, they should look specifically for these two items and only allow these two in. And it should round robin the picking up of both of those. Now I've got myself two paths here. One is going to be for cocoa and one is going to be for sugar. And I have the same thing set up on the other side and the depots that are going to allow me to use the mechanical arms for this. Now, for looping the lava to keep these going, this is what I'm going to do. So the lava will get output here. We're going to feed lava into the spout. Then we just have to have a bucket that is looping. So we can define an output and we can use, for example, a funnel on a depot. So if we get a depot, we have it going here, and then we set ourselves a funnel. Whenever we filter this for an empty bucket, then our mechanical arm should be able to take this, fill these round robinly, and then it will go ahead and send this back into the input to be refilled. Now for the sugar, I think I'm going to end up, using a millstone here. We can have ourselves like a cog that's coming down and powering that. But the sugar will go in here, will be converted on demand, and then spit out onto the depot, which will then be picked up, and we should be able to get that up and running. You know what? On the back, we're going to be supplying this, I think, with frog ports. I think that is going to be the best way to handle this. We have the train that comes in, drops off the items. We have some sort of storage hold, and from those storages is then where we request these items, maybe. Or these could be the, no, we could not do it that way. We're going to have these be the main requesters for the items. And then these will then be filled up from this. So it may start to get a little bit confusing, but the factory gauges that are actually going to send over here are going to be measuring from the actual back storage that we're going to have at the actual location. and then everything else will be sent from here. I'm slowly working this out. It is actually more complicated than you might think. So now we get to start working on all of our other products that we're going to be producing from this. For example, let's start with sweet rolls because it's going to be the closest to our actual milk source, and it'll be the first in the line heading off in this direction. But it does require a lot of steps to get the sweet rolls going because we're going to be sending it straight from wheat itself. So that means we have to process the bread, and the bread process actually has quite the setup here. So we need to start off with wheat flour, and then we need to make dough, and then we have ourselves some bread. Then we also send some milk onto that bread. That's pretty straightforward to get the sweet rolls. But here's where the problem lies, right? We have to go through all of these other individual steps before we can actually get to the actual bread part. So let's start backwards. So we're going to go from our dough, and then we actually need to go from the bread. So the bread is going to be a smoking operation. So right here, what I could do is I could have a smoker set up that actually smokes this, and we can have this just funneled onto a depot. I think that might be a great way to handle these like position setups. So if I go ahead and I grab myself a depot, I'm going to put a depot like this, and then underneath it, we will actually have ourselves a fan and a campfire that'll blow up into the depot. This doesn't need to be fast. And what I'll do from there is I'll just filter off of the depot. As we have access to brass, like it makes sense to actually use the brass. On this side, we can connect in a funnel, make sure it's flipped around. And yeah, what I'll do is I'll have my shaft here, and then we'll just have our other processing line right here as well. So now this right here makes our dough, but we are going to need to, or this actually makes the bread, but we are going to need to make the dough. To be able to make the dough, we need ourselves a basin. So let's set up a basin just like this. We'll have ourselves a 2 wide belt line that is going to run from the basin to this. Thankfully, this auto funnels right off, but we are going to need water that is going to this. So I think I'm actually going to pump water from the bottom. So water will go in, and then this is a mixing operation. So we are going to need a mixer. And then from the back, we'll do another belt system. Let's go ahead and also get a shaft, another little belt system just like so. And this will allow us to send the ingredients in. Make sure to set that as the output, and then we'll also definitely make sure to set the recipes for these. Now, to be able to get the wheat flour, we are going to use, I think, just a regular mill. I think the mill is going to be the easiest way to handle this. So we'll end up setting up a mill. Let's see, we can't have it here, so we are going to have to extend the belt. So we'll extend the belt a little bit, go back, grab ourselves a mill. Now the mill is going to have a funnel on this side that is only going to allow the flour out, whereas this side is actually going to drop stuff into lava. So we're going to be just completely voiding, I believe. I don't think I want to do a composter setup for such a minuscule amount. So yeah, that'll be something that we handled there. So going to be a lot more funnels. I mean, that's basically what this is all going to consist of. So we're going to have a filter on this side, a filter on this side. The other side, we don't have to worry about it. Just like that. This will just be seeds, and this will be wheat. And then just like we did before, to cap it off, bam, we'll have ourselves some brass scaffolding. And then on this, I'll place a barrel. This is going to have a frog port on it. Now I do want to go ahead and start running some basic pipe. I think what I'll do is this is actually going to be branched over the ceiling from our other building. And I have it going about 7 blocks high. I think that is going to be more than enough to carry everything, but we do have to figure out how the pumps are going to go. I think these are set to 64 blocks on the pump range in the config on this pack, but this isn't something that is normal. I think the normal default range is like 16 blocks, so we would need a lot of pumps in that case. But with the 64, I mean, that should carry most of this with only a few. So now after running all of the pipe, with the left side right here being lava, the inside one being the milk, this should work. I think we may have, like I said, add a few more pumps in here, but I'm starting to add the chain conveyors because this is how we're going to automate everything. And so I'm going to run the chain conveyors along here. That way we can interface with these frogs, and then this will get sent over here. And this is going to run straight through the back, just like so, over, and then on to the last one, which is going to go right over here to kind of complete the whole, like, circular setup. Loop, not circular. This is not circular at all. I'm thinking to keep the theme of all of the pipes running all over the place, what I could do is I could go ahead and also run some pipes over to this area, and I can make this section like right here be sweet berries. That way I can have some chocolate being piped over here. I know that I do want my like actual cobblestone farms for the scoria to be done in like these areas maybe, but I also want this side to look like it also has pipes running all over the place. So you know what? These two containers might actually be the ones for the, these are probably going to be the ones for the scoria, whereas these are going to be the other ones for the chocolate production. So here's my thinking. This will be the one that will be for the bees, because we'll eventually have the bees set up. Those will be producing honey. The honey will make the apples. The apples will be supplied from my tree farm back at the main base. And this will be a manual one for right now. But these two, these are going to be a little bit different. So let's also grab a few things here. We need a belt line. The belts are going to run all the way over here, just like our other ones, just so that way we can get the items from our chain and be kind of close enough. So now that that is in place, really it's pretty straightforward. One is just going to receive some sweet berries, and that just needs to have a spout go over them. So we could have the spout set up right here. I mean, and then the rest of it is just simply getting the berries on here. This one's a little bit more complicated, making the actual chocolate bars, because the chocolate bars are handled inside of a press. And just like we did earlier, the press goes directly on top of the basin. The spout auto updates, and we just need a funnel to allow the items to go in. And that is really it. So on this side, actually, oh, you know what? On this side, it doesn't actually connect to the chain drive at all. Yeah, because we are literally just turning the liquid chocolate directly into bars here. Now that I have like a basic semblance of all of the logistics that's going to need to be in there, I need to start thinking about the actual warehouse. Now, the warehouse is going to be kind of large. However, I think I just want the actual building itself to only build it big enough to house the actual vaults that are needed for this project. But this also means that the train depositing area is going to have to be set up as well. And I'm trying to figure this out. So what I did was I thought about this for a moment. I was like, okay, I have my chain conveyors here. This will be a frog port. Let's just say this frog port is what's sending onto belts. Then we have a 2-wide belt that allows us to send into this barrel and pull from a packager that'll be right here. That'll have the information stored onto it. Then we have a 5-wide vault that'll just simply hold, or 5-long vault that's going to hold our stuff. Then we have another packager, room for another belt line that is going to run right here, so we can have a loop to get the packages into this from the train. And then we need a little bit of space just in case for our interfaces to be able to actually get onto this belt. So a lot of pre-thinking in actually determining the size here. But yes, this is where that vault is going to be contained, and everything else will be handled basically from belts. And now I don't want to start this until right here. So this is going to be where this will be housed, and I've got to figure out roughly where I want to store everything. Now I'm thinking my fluids, what I could do is I could probably store them externally. And what I could do here is I can have a big tank on the outside here, and we can decorate this into the build and have another tank over here, one storing milk and one storing our lava. And I think that would look really nice. That'll all be on the outside, but the pipes will actually be sending it to the outer area, which will be right in between here. I'll actually put these onto some risers. So these will be separated by 3 blocks. And I don't know how big I want to make these just yet, but let's just assume they're going to be different heights, because this is going to be kind of a steampunky thing. So one will be lava, one will end up being milk, for example. Probably going to actually make them a bit taller, but this is going to connect in here, meaning we do also need to get some piping from the outside of this building. This also allows me to start thinking about my actual storage vaults that are going to house our backup of product. Now, to help with the length of all of this, I went ahead and had them divided with 3 blocks in between. Even though it's not matching the other setups, but this is to kind of make this look a bit longer. Now with the basic foundation size setup, it's now time to start working this in. Yeah, little by little, I'll be able to get this all put together. Now down here where we're actually going to be connecting into the train area, I do know that if we have this 1 block, we can come out and then we can have a wall that goes up 2 blocks. And then right about there is where we need to be. So 2 blocks up, this is the flat face of the wall, just like this. So we can have like a little bit of a platform that maybe shows up right here. I think that would look kind of interesting. Right now, I'm just going to lay in some stone. I'll do some decorating later when we actually go to build everything up. But yeah, getting the idea is the most important part. Now, I'm still not quite sure where these are going to actually go as far as the interfaces, but I do know they need to be like one block up, and they need to be 1, 2, and then on the third block space here. So looking this direction, let's change this. Perfect. So this is where this interface is going to go. And then I'm still got to figure out like where I'm going to place the fluid interface. That is going to be a little bit different. And that does need to be connected, I think, right here. This is where I'm actually going to do the pumping. So that means we've got to separate our belt line from our actual fluid pumping, which is fine. It just means that we're probably going to want to handle our fluids further back, and we are going to need 2 separate train stops, one for lava and one for milk, just like we did before. And that's not super hard to do. We'll just have one interface on the main train, and then so and so forth. We'll do it like this. There we go. And we'll just have separate interfaces. We'll figure out exactly where these interfaces need to go, but for right now, this is just where it'll be handled. And so to prepare myself for the inevitable of needing to move this, I want to situate this in this way right here. I want it to lead to this point right here. So in the middle of this, we are going to have a belt that leads out. That means that the belt needs to extend out into this direction. Turn that, and then we'll have the belt run through here. This will be a nice length for our drop off, no matter where this is placed. Of course, I'll shorten this depending on that. Then this is going to go through the wall, and we're probably going to use a chute system to get them to go onto this belt. What I'll do is I'll use a fan, and I'll have the chute send the blocks all the way up. So just like I mentioned, fan and then chutes going up, and that will send it so long as we have the rotation going. We'll handle all of that once I get the power hooked in, but this is where everything's going to go, and then we'll have packagers on each of those that are going to be linked to the other main system. Now, I think for the frog ports here, this should work. It does say that they interface with the barrel, so I should be able to just send the package out. Package goes in the barrel, and the frog port actually spits that package out from the inventory that the barrel has. So I'm hoping that's exactly what it does. But this is essentially what's going to go on here. So we are going to pull specifically list filtered items out of here. Then we are going to send it specifically to these vaults for holding. And then we'll have these be their own network. And then this over here will actually request when it needs stuff. When this vault is empty, well, this port will actually know. Then it will try to send to this port over here, which will make sure that train gets it. And then if this is empty, it'll request from the main storage. It seems like a lot. I know, it really does. It would maybe be easier if we just used it to funnel it through, but I kind of like this idea, and it's also helping me get a good understanding of how all the package logistics work. And if you know what, let's say I need sugarcane elsewhere, well, I'll be able to use the central station to be able to actually do that. And I really shouldn't be calling it central station. This is part way station. I'll tell you what though, this is looking absolutely ridiculous already, and I haven't even built the building. Oh my goodness. Now for the piping here, I'm not quite sure how I want to handle this. I do have to have a pump and a filter that goes on here. So just assume there's a pump and a filter right here. And I need to also lead this up and then connect it into this setup. Ooh, I might just utilize this whole section here specifically for this. So yeah, with a little bit of decorating, this will look really, really good, but my goodness, there's going to be a lot of pumps needed, I think. Just taking a glimpse at all of the piping everywhere, yeah, it's gonna really need a lot. So with all of this really kind of set up, I need to get some power going to it so we can actually turn this on. And I think what I'll do is I'll run a shaft that goes all the way down, and we're going to tap into one of these chain drives over here. Probably just tap into the side of one. Now, surprisingly, this reaches all the way. Okay, that's way better than I thought. This is pretty far out, by the way. Now I've just got to get all these shafts connected in. And so just like this, voila, we now have power running. And one of the nice parts about using the chain conveyors, I can basically attach it over here. And let's just say, for example, I want this space right here to have some power. It's as easy as adding a shaft into this. because all I got to do is connect here, and here it goes through the ground. You can't even see that it's connected. And voila, we have access to power. Now with everything powered, I also figured out that my frog ports weren't going to work. So after doing a little bit of testing, this won't send out of a barrel. So yes, having it directly connected to a packager is probably one of the best options here. I don't know exactly what it means by interfacing. I think it can maybe pull items out, but it needs to be packages, right? I don't know. It doesn't really explain it very well, but this will still work. So what we're going to need is a factory gauge that is going to do the requesting of the items, but to keep items in stock. So what we want to do is we want to keep a single stack in stock here. So we need the name of the frog ports to be what they are sending, essentially. And these are networked based, so we don't have to worry about our other ones over on the other side labeled wheat or anything like that. These are all based on the storages that they're essentially pulling from. Now these setups are going to be a little bit different. This needs to be like sugar1_CA, and then we can have the other one set to sugar2. This is just to kind of keep things different. They're going to be pulling from the same place. I just don't want them to have the same label. And I mean, same for the cocoa. This will be cocoa 1 and cocoa 2. Now for this to be able to work, we have our stock links that are attached to the packager. And now I need to, for each section, we need to make sure that we know what is going to be what. And we need to make sure that our factory gauges are tuned to those things that are going to be receiving those special things. So might be time that I actually add the filters in. So now essentially what I've done is I've copied all of the labels I'm going to need, everything except for this bone meal from over on our main station. And now I also need to add all of these to a list filter. So all of these are going to go in a list filter. And this is actually what's going to tell my train what to actually allow off of the train. I think I'm going to go in the same order. So we'll have cocoa in this one. This will be sugarcane. Then we'll have sweet berries down on this one. And then wheat over here. And I have the same looping thing that we have on the other side. This is supposed to be for apples. We just don't have that set up yet. And down here, this is where that list filter is going to go. That's going to allow our train to be filtered and allow this to pull those very specific packages with those specific addresses off and load them onto these vaults. So now I should be able, now that I know what each of these packages are going for, like for example, this one's cocoa, should be able to just take that factory gauge, it's linked to that one, and then set it over here to the cocoa specifically. So we will place it on here and drag the cocoa like this. And this is the actual cocoa one, but this should pull up in the list because it is directly underneath here. And perfect, that one's linked, and I got to do the same thing for the other one. I guess more or less I got to do it for all of them over here. So now for the most part, I think this is all of the logistical things that are going to be involved with like the actual production of all of our chocolate and products. Well, minus the two like cobblestone generators or scoria generators that we are going to fit right here. But I do need chocolate before I can do that. So we still haven't made any chocolate just yet. This is all getting the infrastructure set up. I even have these linked to the way they are clicked on their inputs and outputs connected into these individual filters. Everything should be ready to go. The only thing we're really missing is our actual train that sends the stuff back and forth. So that will definitely be what we work on next episode, is getting a train built and getting that train running back and forth, actually connected into the system, jump-starting the entire operation of the chocolate factory. Now, if you enjoy videos like these where I go really in depth through all of the logistical thinking of these projects, then definitely be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because these are the type of videos that I do enjoy making the most. And also give this video a huge thumbs up. Now, if there's any way that I could have done something differently, be sure to let me know down in the comments below, as I love to read your comments. Well, so long as you're nice, I guess. But anyways, if you did enjoy, I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Now, with that being said, it's time to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go to... yeah, I have no idea, but it's Soulless Bean is what they used to go by over on the Discord. So thank you so very much for your amazing support and absolutely going above and beyond supporting me over on the Discord. You absolute boss. And of course, guys, if you're interested in checking that out, links down in the description below for all of the Discord information. And like I mentioned before, I will be gathering some images if you guys get them all prepped up. especially for advertising for the chocolate factory. I would really, really love to see those if that's something you're interested in doing. Like I said, either let me know on my Discord by pinging me in my image gallery, or you can definitely do that on the Just Create SMP. There's actually a fan art one over there. And if you post them, I'll definitely be sure to shout you out in the video. Thank you guys so very much. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And as always, thanks for watching.